Hello, welcome to another episode of the Snow the Wonder Cat Show. The Consumer Electronics Show for 2017 has wrapped up, and it was filled with surprises. I mean, each CES we see new and interesting technologies. I was particularly interested in PC technologies, and I don't care about appliances and all that other nonsense or Internet of Things, which just basically make it easy for everybody to hack your house. Nah, not interested in that. I just want PC stuff. Well, in particular, one of the PC technologies that I was very interested to see was the latest from NVIDIA, because I was so looking forward to seeing the GTX 1080 Ti announced and demonstrated. And it wasn't. Thanks a lot, NVIDIA. Why did you even show up? I mean, 1080 Ti or GTFO, okay, really? I don't know what's going on over there. Supposedly they're in production someplace, but we couldn't even see them. I mean, come on, don't we even have an engineering sample? Is there like some kind of problem? Who knows? Whatever it is that's going on, NVIDIA had basically nothing to show. Sure, they could talk about all the great things theoretically they would do, but, you know, if we can't see it operating, if we can't benchmark it, to heck with it. It's all fluff and nonsense. Paper launch. Okay, so the other thing was Intel. I love Intel processors. In fact, this is being recorded with an Intel processor. I use a lot of it. I use some AMD stuff too. They're okay. They're usually really nice, cheaper alternatives. But lately, you know, you look at Bulldozer and Pile Driver, and you know the single core performance just hasn't been there. They place too much emphasis on saying, well, look, we integrated a GPU in there. I'm like, well, so what? I've got an NVIDIA card, so I don't care. So I've got all this stuff that was devoted in this chip that doesn't do me any good. So, I mean, I need, you know, processor performance. And so I've always turned to Intel as the, you know, they would cost more, but, you know, bang for the buck, they were pretty good. And this year they're not. So we have the introduction of Kaby Lake, which is their new processor series, the successor to Skylake, and it's not great. It's not great. I mean, it's a competent chip. It works. It does what they say it's going to. But here's the problem. It costs more, and, well, as a matter of fact, there's a video made by Paul's Hardware. Paul did a really great job where he basically took a Skylake and a Kaby Lake CPU and then matched their clock frequency. So, you know, clock one up, clock one down, so they're at the same speed, and then ran them through several tests, and guess what he found? It turns out that they perform exactly the same at the same clock speed. So, oh my gosh, Kaby Lake is Skylake with more clock speed. Yeah, thanks a lot, Intel. Nobody's impressed. Nobody is fooled, by the way. And, to give you an idea of how nakedly obvious it is that Kaby Lake is just a nonsense product in terms of, you know, they're like, darn, we got to come up with a way to continue to charge high prices and make it seem like we came up with something new. Well, you know, the typical refuge for weak products that can't stand on their own is platform exclusives. Yes, we see this in consoles all the time. You know, they can't stand up to PCs, so they got to go for the exclusive. You know, reach for that exclusive. So what kind of exclusive could you put into a processor? Well, surprise, surprise. Apparently, Intel has made a deal with Netflix. I know, this sounds like the beginning of a joke, but apparently, built into the Kaby Lake processor is a special decoder that allows you to watch 4K video. It's so ridiculous. So that's your killer feature for the Kaby Lake CPU is you can watch 4K video from Netflix. Yeah, I'm sure people are just lining up for that. Other than that, I don't know. It's basically just Skylake with more speed, and not significantly more speed that I should actually care about it. I mean, you put these machines side by side with, well, I tell you what, you know, if I enjoy playing a few games, and if I were to put, say, a Devil's Canyon, you know, 4790K, you know, next to, you know, a Skylake 6700K, next to a Kaby Lake, I don't even know what their numbers are yet, and they all use the same video card and the same amount of memory, and they're all playing on SSDs. You probably couldn't tell the difference. I mean, there'd probably be like a frame or two between them. So it's probably not worth upgrading. If you've got anything, a nice computer that was made within the last few years, you're probably still good. So, Intel likes to bemoan, why won't people buy new computers? Well, you haven't offered us anything compelling to want to upgrade. So there. Oh, plus you can get used computers that are really good. I mean, if all you're going to do is desktop stuff, if you're not a gamer, if you just need to browse the internet and do other simple things, you can buy a computer for $60 and get it from Walmart, or one of these other places, or any of the big companies that will sell you refurbished PCs. They'll even come with an operating system, although personally I would just wipe them and put Linux on it. And there are really great Linux things, even for people that don't know anything about computers. You'd be surprised, if you got some parents. Oh, Cub Linux in particular. It basically looks like, the same operating system we see on Chromebooks, except it'll run on a regular desktop PC, costs nothing. They turn it on, it's got a browser, it just works. Oh well. So, Intel struck out, NVIDIA extremely struck out. Wow, I was looking forward to products from both those companies, and they let me down. You know who the surprise belle of the ball was? AMD. Oh yeah. Well, the Ryzen CPUs are coming out. They actually look pretty good. Oh my goodness, AMD has been busy. I mean, we saw with last year's fantabulous product, the RX 480, AMD made all these claims about what its performance was going to be, and they were all true. Their product does exactly what they said it was going to do. A little voltage issue. It's kind of thirsty. But that's okay. I mean, it works. It does what it's supposed to. And as long as it's paired with modern motherboards and power supply units, it should be fine. And Ryzen looks very interesting. In fact, it's very different from what we see over on the Intel camp. For one thing, all the Ryzen CPUs, they're all unlocked. Go crazy. If you can keep it cool, you can go nuts with this thing. Plus, it's a full system on a chip versus, the Intel ones that require a heavy chipset for all their I/O and other functions. Those things are all built into Ryzen. So, Ryzen just needs a little chipset that does things like secure boot and a few other little piddly little things. The chipset is the size of, the way they described it was a pinky nail. And that's true. It's a very tiny little thing. The processor does most of its own stuff. And the good thing is that rather than vaporware, like the 1080 Ti, they've got Vega. Granted, they only had engineering samples to show off, but they were working engineering samples. And so people were able to sit down and play with these things and try them out and see the performance that Vega will potentially offer. So I'm really excited, especially since Vega is not stuck to the Windows platform. Can you say Linux? Because, Linux gaming has been pretty good. We just need to have more titles for it. And I'm hoping that Vega cracks that open there and says, you know what? You don't have to be stuck with that DirectX 12 nonsense, which is a platform exclusive for Windows 10. Again, remember, platform exclusives are the refuge of the weak. That means that your trashy operating system can't compete, so you have to clutch to something. It's exclusive. You can't have it unless you buy my platform and let me spy on you. Yeah, Windows 10, no thanks. So, yeah, the Ryzen CPUs look really good. They're going to be on the AM4 socket, and they had quite a few manufacturers that were showing off their motherboards. They're ready to go. So we should see Ryzen CPUs available as of the end of next month. February 2017, they will be out, and by March of 2017, we should see just about all the motherboards from the big manufacturers fully available. So there, some of them will come out at the same time as the chip. Others might be a little bit later. Gigabyte was one of the manufacturers notable for saying that they wouldn't be ready until the end of March, but they were able to show off their boards there at the show. So they just need to run their production lines and get enough of them available so that they can meet demand. It looks very interesting. Now, some people have criticized Ryzen, saying, well, I get more performance if I go with Intel. And that's true. Intel is known for having the performance crown, but they also have the price crown. And it's looking as though Ryzen CPUs are equivalent to about Broadwell. Well, that's okay. Broadwell's good enough for a lot of tasks. If we can just get to that level of performance, but, AMD's idea of pricing, which is lower, I could see these things flying off the shelves the way we saw with the RX 480, the 470, and the 460. I mean, those cards do their job, and they work. I'm really looking forward to AMD's products here. I'm still using, I've got, Haswell's and Devil Canyons. 4790, 4790K, a few others around here. There's an Ivy Bridge around here someplace. So I've got quite a few AMD, or Intel chips, I should say. I have some AMD ones. Let's see, my buddy the Bricks over here, which will transcode this exact video, is an A8 APU. Yeah, not the most powerful machine in the world, but it's okay to sit in the corner and transcode with, so it's good enough. Ryzen, I have to admit, I've been waiting to see how this turns out, and I'm going to be eagerly looking at the various different benchmarks when the CPU is broadly available. But for now, it looks like it might be good enough. And this is why Intel has publicly stated, they've watched their sales go down, and they're not trying because they don't feel they have any competition. They're not bothering to bring the prices down either. And they've said, well, we don't want to be primarily a CPU company anymore. You have yourself to blame, Intel. All you had to do was come out with new innovations and keep working on it. Don't just copy and paste things like you have with this Kaby Lake and Skylake thing. I mean, honestly. And between Skylake and Haswell, okay, so we doubled the amount of memory. We doubled, a few other things. But, who's going to use the 64 gigs of memory? Except crazy people like me. At least not on a desktop. We'll see. We'll see. So those were the big outstanding things. I mean, the Consumer Electronics Show had all kinds of goodies. But the PC technologies, that's what I was looking for. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited about Ryzen and Vega. And now I'm not so sure I'm that worried about the 1080 Ti. We'll see what the future holds. See you next time.